When I was a kid, I remember that it was always warm at harvest time. It was early in the morning, as soon as the dew came off. And I have a vivid memory of cutting barley. It was musty and sweet. I can still see my dad's face and thinking that he was serious about his work. It was the whiskey industry that I saved the family farm.
It was one thing I enjoy is memories, because sometimes when they come, they're a little overwhelming. Yeah, my grandparents, I think, were the key to it. I just didn't want to let that legacy go. That house down there, the one I live in, is my grandpa's house. No, he was born in Oklahoma, and so was my dad. My dad was born in Walters, Oklahoma, but they moved here in the 1930s. My grandpa went through bankruptcy to get everything cleared and keep going, and then that's when my dad come back to the farm and started working. Yeah, and he was, I believe, 19 when he came back to the farm. I was 16 years old. I didn't make it through high school. I went to the Farmers Home Administration to see if I could get into farming and the dairy industry. And they had a program set up for 4-H animals. These county supervisors didn't see anything wrong with me borrowing $35,000 and buying all of my dad's cows. It allowed me to quit school and to stay on the farm. We went through some stressful times. We lost a whole quarter of land, 160 acres, for kind of foreclosure, forced to sell to keep farming. And yeah, we've been through some hard times. Even with the dairy cattle, we went through some pretty hard times. Had to sell land to keep going.
Farming is just another industry in the United States that has been monopolized by huge industrial powerhouse companies. And so what happens is that the family farm can't exist in that structure. That large industrial farming can sell at such a scale that it's hard to even measure in the same units as a family farm. And consequently, the whole market is controlled by that. And so the family farm is at the mercy of those things. It marginalizes the family farm.
So farmers are, still getting feed barley prices are still as low as they were in the 50s and the 60s when, a John Deere tractor cost $1,700 and now a John Deere tractor costs $200,000. And the farmers are still getting the same price for their commodities.
Once it becomes industrialized, the small mom and pop shop or whatever it is can't survive. They can't compete. Family farmers can't afford to survive anymore.
My mom and I had decided to sell. And so we went to make the deal, and she said to me, I can't sell. I said, but Mom, I said, we're not going to make it. And she said, no. She said, I have enough money, you can farm one more year and I'll make the land payment. She didn't want to let what her husband had struggled for all those years ago. And so that's when we started the malt company. We started in the old dairy farm milk tank and made a batch with some friends. We didn't know what we were doing. My wife and I did a lot of deliveries off the start till the boys would come home in the summer and do it. And yeah, the boys did the initial trying to get it to move into other breweries, but there weren't that many breweries at the time either. When we started, I think there was 80 some breweries in the state of Colorado, and we hit them all. In fact, we sent them all a postcard to see if they would buy, you know, a craft malt. We didn't know it was craft malt at the time.
There was a lot of skepticism when craft malt first started. Most brewers were like, no way. You know, that they, even though they reaped the benefits of being in the craft industry because they were selling to the consumer, they wanted to work with large industrial companies that they could make their margin with. At that time, we were doing only base malt. My older brother said, you know, we got to make a way to make this more valuable for the family. And the way to do it was to make something that no one else was making. And I started looking at what the market looked like at that time, especially in malting. And the specialty malts, roasted malt, caramelized and crystallized malts, gluten-free malt, things that no one else was providing, it seemed like an opportunity for us to get into the market. The pricing of our grain was the most challenging thing, because we wanted to be competitive, and we kind of put the feelers out there and trying not to be dishonest, learning about what the pricing of it cost. And so what we did was we looked at what it cost us to make it, and it was so high nobody would even consider it. The malting company had been running maybe 3 years at this time, and we were thinking this isn't financially viable. Like, it was so hard, it was so expensive to get anybody to even hear about you, let alone get out there and try your product. And we were wondering if we would make it. We were within weeks of hanging it up. Law's Whiskey House actually called us on the phone and said, hey, are you guys like local? Could we get local products from you? And my brother was like, yes, absolutely, you know? And then he started talking about the kind of quantities that he would need because of their need for large amounts of grain, and the value that they add to their product by the distilling process, especially whiskey making, where they distill it and age it in barrels. That's a very valuable product when it's done right. And so because of that, they're willing to pay more for the raw materials if the quality is high. We are a value-added agricultural company because we grow all the grain that we malt. And so we're not sourcing big contracts with other people, and we're not having people across the country and across the world grow raw commodity and then bring it in and malt it. It's all happening right here on this farm. The fact that we're still here is a testimony to what the craft industry can do, what craft distilling can do, because the truth is our biggest customers are craft distillers.
It's allowed my family to stay home, not have to go elsewhere to find a job, you know, to survive. That, above all things, is important to us. I think we're able to stay together and work together as a farming family. I like that a lot. I hope the farm stays with them. The farm is definitely the anchor.